A devotional for March 29, a reflection on My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. And the link for the daily devotional can be found at utmost.org. The text for today comes from Luke 12. I'll read verses 38 through 40. It's talking about watchfulness. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them ready, even if he comes in the middle of the night or toward daybreak. But understand this: if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. And our devotional is entitled Our Lord's Surprise Visits. You also be ready, Luke 12, verse 40. A Christian worker's greatest need is a readiness to face Jesus Christ at any and every turn. This is not easy, no matter what our experience has been. This battle is not against sin, difficulties, or circumstances, but against being so absorbed in our service to Jesus Christ that we are not ready to face Jesus himself at every turn. The greatest need is not facing our beliefs or doctrines, or even facing the question of whether or not we are of any use to him, but the need is to face him. Jesus rarely comes when we expect him. He appears when we least expect him, and always in the most illogical situations. The only way a servant can remain true to God is to be ready for the Lord's surprise visits. This readiness will not be brought about by service, but through intense spiritual reality, expecting Jesus Christ at every turn. This sense of expectation will give our life the attitude of childlike wonder he wants it to have. If we are going to be ready for Jesus Christ, we have to stop being religious. In other words, we must stop using religion as if it were some kind of a lofty lifestyle. We must be spiritually real. If you are avoiding the call of the religious thinking of today's world, and instead are looking unto Jesus, Hebrews 12 verse 2, setting your heart on what he wants and thinking his thoughts, you will be considered impractical, and a daydreamer. But when he suddenly appears in the work of the heat of the day, you will be the only one who is ready. You should trust no one, and even ignore the finest saint on earth if he blocks your sight of Jesus Christ. Now, as you've probably noticed by now, if you've been following along with these devotionals, Oswald Chambers spends a great deal of time and effort talking about our personal relationship with God, and really the process of how do we develop an even deeper sense of Jesus in our life. How do we develop a greater sense of God's calling on our life? What should we be listening to? What should we be tuning out? In some ways, it does feel like it's very much an individual focus. But if you take what he's saying and apply it in our relationships with others, then this is something that can be shared and can spread. So even in this particular piece, the familiar verse or phrase where we say that, he will come again like a thief in the night, and it talks about just simply being ready if we were to know when Jesus is ready. And there are many times when Jesus caught people by surprise, and there have been many times when Jesus has caught me by surprise. And so it just reminds me again to fall back and really take in how I should be looking at this world, how I should be looking at my own journey. And what Oswald Chambers is saying is that I should be exploring this with an almost childlike wonder. Now, if you were to ask me a month ago if I would have expected to be out of a job that I absolutely loved due to a virus that's spreading across the world, I would have said no. I never would have thought that at that time. And yet here I am, and waiting for what is next. And then when I think about it today, today was a very peaceful day in many ways, because I simply took what the day gave me and simply made the best out of today. And there's something to that. When we start to put our plans ahead of what God's plans might be, that's where we get tripped up, and that's where we appear unready. But there is also the side that if we operate like this, just with this childlike wonder, there are times where the world will find us to be impractical. And it's okay to daydream, and it's okay to have visions about what our spiritual walk should be. That, in fact, is what the Lord has asked us to do.